Tune into the static, whispers in the night. Mira's morgue awakens, where shadows take flight.
Welcome, my haunted airway explorers. Once again, you found yourself in the shadowy corridors of Mira's morgue of midnight madness, where the past never truly rests and the airwaves carry echoes of terror from long ago. Tonight, I have exhumed a true classic, one of the most chilling tales ever to slink from the cobwebs depths of literature straight into the golden age of radio horror. A story of science and madness, of potions and peril, of a man and his monstrous other self. Yes, my ghoulish guests, tonight we delve into the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. First penned by Robert Louis Stevenson, this eerie tale has been adapted countless times. Tonight, we journey back into 1932 to a 52-part radio series that expanded upon Jekyll's life from childhood until his tragic end. This adaptation starred in the versatile George Edwards, known as the Man of 1,000 Voices, who not only portrayed Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but also lent his voice to multiple characters throughout the series. This information was given by tvtropes.org. So, my haunted airway explorers, turn down the lights, lock the doors, and whatever you do, don't drink anything suspicious, because once the transformation begins, there's no going back.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure and our privilege to present to you tonight George Edwards in a radio version adapted by Betty Rowland of one of the world's great literary masterpieces, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It took the genius of Robert Louis Stevenson to fashion this tale of the dual forces which are forever at war in every human breast, the powers of good and evil. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure and our privilege to present to you tonight George Edwards in a radio version adapted by Betty Rowland of one of the world's great literary masterpieces, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It took the genius of Robert Louis Stevenson to fashion this tale of the dual forces which are forever at war in every human breast, the powers of good and evil that lie dormant in us all. And he has given us a tale so weird, so strange, and yet so filled with the eternal conflict of man's immortal soul that we who hear it stand petrified, because in the tormented character of this strange fantasy, we see ourselves. Step by step, we will take you along the tortuous path, followed by young Henry Jekyll, fortune's darling, born to great riches, talented and handsome, until we see the final dissolution of this unhappy being, who sought to split his soul in twain and assume a separate identity for each side of his dual nature. The one entirely good, the other completely evil. We will begin by looking into the handsome country residence of his father, Edward Jekyll, a wealthy London merchant who has retired to his estates to enjoy the fruits of a successful career on the stock exchange. He is a man whom anyone might envy, still in the prime of life, enjoying the esteem of all who knew him, blessed with the love of a gracious woman and the father of a splendid son. It is Christmas Day, and fires are burning brightly in the vast chimney pieces of the Jekyll house. Snow spangles the trees in the great park surrounding the gardens, and in the clear crystal air, the chiming of church bells comes clearly from the little village just a mile or so beyond the gates.
Henry, there's Mr. Bunning with his choir. Open the windows, dear, and show him that we're here. All right, Mother. Are you sure it won't be too cold for you? Not a bit. I've got this warm cloak on, and it isn't half so cold now that the sun has commenced to shine. Oh, Mother, don't come and look at little Billy Hawkins. He's playing the cornet, and his cheeks look exactly like two ducks' cheeses. Let's go out onto the terrace and speak to them. Oh, there's Mr. Packer, too. His leg must be better. Well, fancy his being able to walk all this way through the snow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you. If you'd care to step inside, there's a hot punch and some Christmas cake waiting for you. Henry, run and tell your father, dear. He wouldn't like not to be here to welcome them. Do you know where he is? I think he went down to the cellar with Monkton to choose the wines for dinner. Well, I'll go and fetch him then. And I'll go and make sure there's ample cake to go around. And look, there's Mr. Otterson and Margaret just driving through the gates. Oh, isn't that nice? I was so hoping they'd call in today. Tell your father, dear, and then run out and meet them. Oh, I do hope they can stay and have Christmas dinner with us. There's no one I'd rather have than them.
Another glass of this port, Addison, before we go into the drawing room.
Thanks. I think I will. What a glorious color it has.
Fill me a beaker full of the warm south, eh? This wine was part of a gift to my grandfather from the Duke of Alba. It's lasted a long time. But I think there'll be sufficient for young Henry to celebrate his Christmases with.
How the lad is shooting up. How old is he now?
He'll be 12 in April. I'll have to think about sending him away to college soon. He's getting too much for a tutor.
You must be very proud of him.
But what about your daughter? She's got her fair share of good looks, don't you think?
Ah, yes. Margaret's a bonny lass. A very bonny lass. Ah, there are the children outside now. What's that Margaret's carrying?
I think it must be the doll my wife got for her last week when we were up in London.
A doll? Why, from here it looks as large as a real baby. How delighted she'll be. Just look at the way she holds it. Haven't you seen a mother carrying her child that way? And the look on her face. I can see it from here. Purest rapture.
Notice the way she walks. She's afraid of slipping on the snow and letting it drop.
I've noticed the expression of the little girl's face when she's carrying her doll. Just the same rapt, inward look of utter bliss that a mother has. I really think they feel the same.
All of which is quite beyond Henry's scope of understanding. Look how impatiently he waits for her. The eternal male itching to be off on adventure.
What's the matter with you? I'm coming. I told you should have left that silly old doll behind. It's not a silly old doll. Yes, it is. Look at its staring eyes. Whoever saw anyone with eyes like that? I think they're beautiful. And she's got real eyelashes, too. And they open and shut. And she says, Mama. Well, you're going to stand there all day admiring it, or you're going to come with me? Where do you want me to go? Down to Red Hill. It snows deep there. I gave it a try out after church this morning. The new sleigh's a dream. Faster than anyone else's by a mile. I don't think I want to go sleighing, Henry. What? Before we had dinner, you could hardly wait. Well, I've changed my mind. Well, I know what it is. You've got that doll now. What if I have? It doesn't stop you from coming sleighing with me. Of course it doesn't. But I just don't want to, that's all. You prefer a silly-looking waxen-faced image to me, do you? Very well, then. I'll ask Phyllis Mortimer to go. She'll jump at the chance. Ask her. I don't care. Oh, yes, you do. You hate her. I know you do. I saw the look on your face when we were skating together last week. Who? What do I care who you skate with? That's not true. You do care. And if you don't come with me now, I'll ask her to be my partner at the children's party tonight. Very well, then. I shall dance with the squire's son. He's already asked me to. More than once, too. Oh, no, you won't. You're not going to dance with that pimply-faced ninny. He's a very nice boy. He has lovely manners, and he's never rude and horrid like you are. He's got buck teeth, and he breathes through his mouth like a grampus. He's promised to take me to the next otter hunt. And I shall probably go and stay at the manor after the new year. You're coming to stay here. I heard Mother ask your father. Papa lets me go where I choose. And you're going to choose to come and stay with us. And you're going to come sleighing with me now, do you hear? Indeed. Yes. Go inside and put away that doll. I should think a big girl like you'd be ashamed to play with dolls. I don't care what you think. And anyway, 10 isn't too old for dolls? Yes, it is. Phyllis Mortimer's only 9, and she smashed her last doll over a year ago. Phyllis Mortimer spoils and bold. I heard your mother say so. Oh, Margaret, come on. You're wasting the afternoon. Be getting dark soon. Well, I'm not coming, so there. Yes, you are. I'm going to make you. No, you're not. Give me that doll. No. No. Henry, stop it. Oh. Margaret. Margaret. What's the matter? Speak to me. Oh, Margaret.
Henry, what on earth have you done?
She slipped on a step. Oh, Father. She's not dead, is she?
Let me have a Jekyll, for mercy's sake. Oh, Margaret, my darling.
I think she's only stunned, Addison. We'll carry her inside. Henry, run and tell your mother. Tell her not to be alarmed. It can't be serious. There are only half a dozen steps.
But she struck her head as she fell. I saw it through the window.
Yes, I know. Don't let's waste any time. We'll send for the doctor right away.
Oh, my darling, my darling. Oh, God, don't let anything happen to her. My little girl. Oh, Margaret.
Steady, old man.
She's my whole life. If anything should happen, I just couldn't go on.
She'll be all right in a week or so, just slight concussion, that's all. She's sleeping quietly now, and I expect her to wake up almost herself again.
Thank you, Doctor. I can't say what a relief this is.
These young things are liable to suffer all sorts of mishaps, sir. How did it happen?
She was playing with Mr. Jekyll's boy on the top of some steps. I don't know exactly how it came about, but she slipped.
Very easily done. The ground's like glass after the freeze last night. Well, I'll be getting along. Be around in the morning. No excitement, mind.
Oh, we'll see to that.
Well, good night, then.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Addison, old friend.
What for?
For what you said about the accident. You might easily have said so much more.
As far as I'm concerned, nothing more need be said, ever.
That's not so. There's something I feel I have to say. Something that I've wanted to say to you for a long time, yet lacked the resolution. Will you sit down with me for a while before we go to Mrs. Jekyll?
Why, certainly. Is there something that troubles you?
Something that troubles me very deeply. Addison, did you notice my son's face as he tried to tear the doll out of Margaret's arms this afternoon?
You mean just before she fell? Yes, I did.
What did you think?
Well, to be truthful, there was something on the face of that boy that struck terror into my heart.
I know. What's the meaning of it? I've seen it from time to time, and it's always the same. Something so evil, so hideously profane seems to peer out from behind the mask of his features that I can't believe my eyes. You saw it this afternoon?
Yes. Has it happened very often?
Not more than half a dozen times in his life. The first occasion was when he was little more than 2 years old. He was playing with his nurse, a woman of whom he was particularly fond. And suddenly I saw the change, and he turned and sank his teeth into her arm until she screamed with pain. We had to almost prise his jaws apart. It was the most horrible thing I'd ever seen.
And when did it happen next?
About 2 years later. My spaniel had a litter of puppies, little soft lumps of silk. Henry was playing with them when suddenly I heard the mother dog begin to wail, and Henry laughed. Never as long as I live will I forget that sound. It wasn't the laugh of a child, but that of a fiend. or as to where he was. He had broken their backs. Every puppy lay dead at his feet. Good heavens. And then another time...
For heaven's sake, what's that?
It's Henry. He has terrible nightmares after one of the attacks. I must go to him at once. Excuse me.
Oh, Edward Jekyll, my poor friend. You are indeed in need of help. May God have pity on you and on your son.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We have now seen both sides of the strange character of Henry Jekyll. The streak of evil which induced him to bring about the moral and physical destruction of his schoolmate David Markham, and the sublime which impelled him to plunge into the boiling seas off the coast of Scotland and rescue some fishermen whose boat had been driven on the rocks. In doing this, he suffers some minor injuries, and his mother and Margaret Utterson, the girl who is already playing a significant role in his life, come up to nurse him back to health. Our next scene opens in the little shooting box on the Scottish moors, in which Henry and his father were staying.
Well, Henry, my boy, how's the leg this morning?
Oh, as well as ever it was, Father, thanks. My word has cleared up wonderfully in the last few days.
No trace of that stiffness.
Oh, none at all. In fact, I'm feeling so well, I'm going to take Margaret out for a walk along the cliffs. I'd like to have one last look over that sea before we leave.
Well, I'll be sorry to go back. London isn't half as nice as being up here. I wish we could stay another month.
Then come out now and let's make the most of our last day. We'll take something to eat and stay out till dark.
I'd love to.
Watch out for storms. There were some rather ugly-looking clouds over the horizon a while ago.
Oh, we'll take raincoats. And there's generally a shepherd's cottage to shelter in. Sure you won't come too?
Oh, not me. I'm going to take a stroll down to the post office to see if there's any mail up from London. And then I'll sit by the fire and read the papers in comfort.
And you, Mother?
I'm going along to Katie McBride's to get that shawl she's weaving for me.
Then come along, Margaret. We'll leave them to it and go out and get our lungs full of the Atlantic gale. Does the wind ever stop blowing here, I wonder?
Wrap yourself up well, dear, and don't be too late home.
We'll be all right, dear. Don't worry over us. Cool the dogs, Henry.
I'll meet you down at the gate, Margaret. Don't forget to bring plenty to eat. This time makes me as hungry as a hawk.
Well, it's good to see the boy striding down the path like that again.
He's a lovely boy, isn't he, Edward? The kind of son that every mother dreams of having.
Shame on you, woman. You're puffed up with maternal pride.
And you're none too modest about him yourself, Edward Jekyll. When you saw all those accounts of what he did in the papers, I saw your chest begin to expand by inches.
Anyone might be proud of what Henry did. 3 men owe their lives to him, and a lot of little children would be fatherless if he hadn't risked his life that day.
They almost worship him down in the village. They're planning some sort of farewell for him tomorrow. Ah, there goes Margaret now. They look fine together, don't they? It makes me feel grateful to God for all his mercies to see them there. It might have been so different.
Yes, Marion, my dear. So different.
How strangely you say that.
I had strange thoughts. Oh, well, that's the thing of the past now. Let's forget about it and be thankful for the present.
time is it, Henry?
Getting on for 4 o'clock.
Don't you think we'd better be turning home? It'll be dark in another hour.
Oh, we haven't got so very far to go. If we cut across those moors by that tor over there, we'll strike the village in a few miles.
Then come along, let's go. I think your father's warning about the storm is going to come true.
I love it. I love to feel the wind whipping through my hair and your cheeks. Oh, they're crimson.
Not my nose, I hope.
It's a bit red, too.
Oh, how hateful of you, Henry. Even if it's true, you shouldn't notice it.
It looks adorable. I like you much better like this, with your hair tossed all over your head, and old shoes and clothes on. I'd hardly know you for the elegant young lady of the London drawing rooms.
Which do you prefer?
Now you're asking both sides of my nature to speak. The one that likes the sophistication of London with its music and soft lights, silks and satins, and the other that walks over the moors and cliff tops with you. Swept clean by the wind, glorying in physical strength, happy in the comradeship we feel merely by being here together.
Have you two sides to your nature, then?
Well, who hasn't? Why, even you, my little Margaret, must feel the pull of conflicting desires now and again. I'd hate to think that there was nothing of the sinner under that sweet face of yours.
Henry, sometimes you frighten me.
Why?
I don't know. You look at me sometimes and you make my heart beat. There's something queer in your eyes.
Don't say that. Don't ever say that. Do you hear?
Why, Henry, what's the matter? You're hurting me. You're digging your fingers into my arm.
I'm sorry, Margaret. I'm sorry. Well, come on. Let's cut across the moors by this path. It'll take us home, I think.
Oh, it is getting stormy. We'll have rain soon, I think.
Well, come on. Give me your hand and we'll hurry home. And don't be cross with me, Margaret. I'm awfully sorry I hurt you.
I'm never cross with you, Henry. That is, not for long. Come along, let's run. Henry, are you sure you know the way?
I think so. I came over by this path a few weeks ago, though it shouldn't have taken us as long as this. It's after 5 o'clock now.
Isn't it dark? I wish we had a lantern. I can hardly see a thing.
Well, hang on to my arm. I can still see the path. Oh, here's the rain again. Button up your coat and keep your head down. I'll guide you.
I wish we hadn't thrown the last of those sandwiches to the dogs.
Hungry? Oh, never mind. Mother will have a fine hot meal waiting for us, and we'll be home soon now.
We're lost, aren't we?
Well, I'm not sure. This path must lead to somewhere, and we're still on it.
We seem to have been pushing our way against this storm for hours. I wonder what the time is.
Well, hold open the flap of my coat. I'll try and strike a match. You ready?
Yes? Did you see?
It's nearly 8 o'clock.
That does mean we're lost, doesn't it?
Yes, I'm afraid it does. I'm awfully sorry, Margaret. I've let you in for this.
It doesn't matter. We'll wait till daylight and then see our way back.
Oh, it won't be daylight for hours. If only we could find some sort of shelter.
Look. Did you see that in the lightning? Some sort of barn or cottage.
No, where?
Over to the left. Give me your hand. I think I can find it. See? There it is.
Yes, I saw it. Well, that must be where this path leads to. Well, thank goodness we'll be able to get out of this rain.
Even the dogs know we're lost. They're hanging right on our heels.
Oh, well, with any luck, we'll be under shelter in a few minutes. I hope that lightning comes again.
There it is. Come along, let's run.
Ooh, what luck. We might easily have passed it.
What sort of a place is it? Can you strike a match and let's see?
I'll try. I'm afraid they're very wet. Some sort of barn. Why, there's a stack of hay over there.
And there's a lantern. See if there's any oil in it.
Yes, we're in luck. It's half full. At least we'll have some light. There we are. That's better.
Oh, I say, there's a fireplace and some dry wood. That's marvelous. A fire to get warm by and dry our clothes. Oh, if only we had those sandwiches.
We'll spend the night imagining what Mother had for us to eat when we got home.
They'll be terribly worried over us. I wonder where we are.
Well, there's nothing we can do till morning, so let's light this fire and warm ourselves.
And what way did they go?
The last we saw them, they were going along the cliffs towards Loch Moidart.
And when was that?
About 11 o'clock this morning.
Well, they might be anywhere by now. But never fear, Mr. Jekyll, sir. We'll find them sure enough. There's not a body in the whole village who wouldn't spend the night searching for them. We're not forgetting what he did for us. We'll have him back for you safe and sound by morning. Tell his mother that.
Feeling warmer now?
Warm and sleepy.
I'll bring across some more of that hay and we'll make a bed.
What time is it?
I don't know. My watch has stopped. Must be nearly midnight, though.
No wonder I'm sleepy.
Here you are. Lie down on this and be comfortable. I'll roll up my coat for a pillow.
Oh, no, you'll need it.
Oh, I'll be warm enough without it. How's that better?
Yes, it's fine. Listen, even the storm has died down now. How quiet it is. I wonder where we are.
High up on some isolated moor, I guess. This must be a feeding place for the cattle. That's why the track led down here.
It's lonely and a little bit creepy, isn't it? I'm awfully glad I'm not alone.
Scared?
Not with you here. But don't go too far away from me.
No, I'm here, right beside you. It's a pity that lamp burned out so soon, but the fire's still bright. I can see you quite plainly.
You're in the shadows. I can only hear your voice.
Shall I come closer?
Yes, please. You could put your arm around me if you like, and I could sleep on your shoulder.
Isn't the coat comfortable?
All right, if you'd rather not.
Oh, don't be silly. You know it isn't that.
What is it then?
Never mind. There now, is that right?
Oh, perfect. You've got such broad shoulders, Henry. They were made for this. Good night.
Good night. Looks pretty there, lying in the firelight. She wanted to lie close to me. That's the sinner in her. It's there just the same as in all of us.
Can't you even look at the face of this sleeping girl without thinking things like that?
We're so far away from everybody. Miles and miles away. Just the two of us in this hut. She's turning her face towards me. Those lips, they want my kisses. She's in love with me, I know that.
She's Margaret, not Hetty.
Is there any difference? Because Hetty's poor and this girl's rich, does that mean they aren't the same inside? She's just the same, and she's prettier, much prettier. Her throat, the soft curves as she sleeps there beside me. She's putting her arms towards me. I'll kiss her and wake her up.
Hello! Hello there!
Yes?
Who is it? Hello!
What is it? What's the matter?
Someone's found us. They must have sent out a search party.
Hello there, this way. Hey, is it you? Are you all right? Where's Margaret?
Here, Father, here. And safe. Thank God she's safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Well, Henry, dear, are you all ready to go?
Yes, Mother. The carriage is waiting. We'll be off as soon as Margaret finishes putting the final touches to her toilet. Oh, what a pity you're not coming too.
I'll be very comfortable at home by the fire with my knitting and an interesting book. Much more to my taste than hunt balls.
Are you sure you wouldn't like me to stay with you?
No, I wouldn't dream of it. Besides, who'll chaperone Margaret?
Dear me, have I got to do that?
You're not to go off playing whist and forgetting all about the child, Henry.
Don't worry, Mother. I'll keep an eye on her. Oh, here she is now.
Come along in, dear, and let's have a look at you. My, what a lovely dress.
Do you like it? Daddy bought it for me when he was over in Paris last month. I've been saving it up for this.
Oh, it's perfect. Just perfect. I'd no idea your father had such good taste in ladies' ball dresses.
Our good friend may have a side to his nature that we've never suspected, my dear.
Do you like it, Henry?
I'll tell you what I think of it when we're dancing the first waltz.
Well, if we don't make a start, you'll be too late. Let me help you on with your cloak, Margaret, yeah?
Oh, just a moment. Henry, pass me over that little case on the table by the window.
This one?
Yes, thank you. Come here a moment, Margaret. See, these are some pearls I wore when I was a girl. The clasp's a little old-fashioned, perhaps, but I like it all the same. Bend down, my dear, and let me put them around your neck.
Why, Auntie Marion.
If I'd had a daughter, they would have been hers. Providence gave me a son, but he also gave me you, dearest girl. There now, don't they look nice against that snowy neck of yours?
They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Oh, how can I ever thank you enough?
Well, come along. Let's go. Good night, Mother darling. Take care of yourself while we're away.
Indeed I will. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Margaret, darling, what a dream of a frock. You look divine. Thanks, Molly. Yours is lovely, too. Is my hair all right at the back? Of course it is. If only I had red hair like yours. And such lovely curls. What's wrong with yours? It shines just like satin. And black hair looks marvelous with your blue eyes. Well, I hope Vincent thinks so. He's asked me for 3 dances. That looks hopeful, doesn't it? You really like him, do you? Do I? If he doesn't propose this season, I'll go into a convent. I can't imagine it. Come along if you're ready and let's go down. Henry's waiting for me at the foot of the stairs. My dear, are things still as strong as ever between you two? Yes, I'm afraid so. I can't understand it myself. Of course, I'm all for fidelity in the long run, but you've never even tried anyone else. Now, I had half a dozen flutters before I finally settled on Vincent. Half a dozen? You started flirting before you were out of school. Oh, well, I never could endure the thought that I might be missing something. Look, do you see that woman going downstairs now? Which one? The one wearing the white dress and the emeralds. Yes. Rather marvelous, isn't she? Do you know who she is? She's Mrs. Marchbanks. Mrs. Marchbanks? Yes, don't you know? She's an American. I heard Mother and Aunt Eleanor talking about her after dinner. They didn't know I could hear. My dear, there's been a terrible lot of scandal over her. She's divorced. No. Absolutely. And they say... Oh, is that the one? Oh, do let's stop and look over the balcony at her. She is smart, isn't she? Well, do you wonder? Oh, Molly, you're dreadful. Just look at the men flocking round her. Oh, bother. What hope have we got with flounces and forget-me-nots against a dress like hers? My goodness, there's Vincent. I'm going down before he catches sight of her. See you later, Margaret. Good luck, darling. Thanks, dear.
Margaret, what luck? I've been looking all over the place for you. Where's your dance program?
Oh, hello, John. I'm afraid it's pretty full.
Let's have a look. HJ. No need to ask who that is. Has he got a monopoly over you?
There's a polka and a quadrille in the second half.
Yes, but I don't want to polka with you or dance in a set. I want to waltz. I want to be able to talk to you, to tell you how marvelous you look. You know, I haven't seen you for an age, Margaret.
I'm afraid there isn't a waltz left.
What about this one? It's hardly started.
Oh, not this. I promised it to Henry. Look, he's waiting for me at the foot of the stairs. Oh.
What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. Would you like to have this waltz, John?
Would I? But didn't you say that Henry...
I thought this was the first waltz. I made a mistake. He's dancing this one with that American woman, Mrs. Marchbanks.
Is he? Well, I never could stand her before, but now I'll be grateful to her forever. Come along, don't let's miss a bar of it. You know, I've been thinking of you all the time I've been away, Margaret. Do you know, even in Italy, I was counting the days... Why, I don't believe you're paying the least attention to what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, John, dear. What was it?
I was telling you that you're the most beautiful woman in this room, and I'm madly in love with you.
Stop it, John, please. You mustn't.
Why not?
Because...
Of Henry? Oh, you don't need to tell me. It's always been him, hasn't it? Even when we were children. Do you remember that time I begged you to be my partner at the Christmas party, and you wouldn't give me an answer because you were waiting for Henry to ask you?
Indeed I do. We had a quarrel over it, and I fell down some stone steps and cut my head.
That's putting it mildly, isn't it? I heard that Henry pushed you down.
Oh, what nonsense. Whoever told you that?
Oh, one of the servants saw it happen and told my sister's governess or something. I believe he was a real little fiend at times.
John, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. A lot of servants gossip.
Well, he was, wasn't he? I remember him flying into the most awful tempers sometimes. I'll bet there's a good deal of old Nick in him still.
John, I didn't dance with you to talk about Henry.
That's right. Let's forget him. Now, how about getting out of here? It's horribly crowded. I hear that Lady Winterton's show of begonias is wonderful this year. Like to see them? The conservatory is just through this door.
John, you're irresistible.
If only I thought you meant it.
Tell me about yourself, Dr. Jekyll. What do you do besides hit a hearse like a red Indian? I was watching you at the hunt today.
Were you? I didn't see you.
Oh, no. I'm no Amazon. I was comfortably wrapped up in rugs and getting a view from the Marchioness's carriage.
Oh.
Do you utterly despise me for that?
Oh, not at all. It seems right enough somehow. I couldn't imagine you riding over fences and getting splashed with water and mud.
Or landing head first in a ditch.
Poor Tilly Lansdowne. She did take a tumble, didn't she?
You know, you dance as well as you ride.
Oh.
Do you know that?
You'll have my head turned soon.
Does it turn easily?
Too easily. Whenever a pretty woman passes by.
How old are you?
Oh, now, that's not fair.
Why? You're not still so young that you're ashamed of your age, are you?
Well, I'm 22.
And everything to learn. No, not everything. I can see that now. There's just that about your eyes.
But still, a lot. A whole lot. If anyone would teach me.
Are you an apt pupil?
A diligent one.
Well, we'll see. Are you fond of flowers, Dr. Jekyll?
Well, that all depends.
I believe Lady Winterton's hothouse is marvelous. Someone was telling me.
Well, the conservatory's just through this door. Shall we go?
Go back, John. This dance must be nearly over now.
Oh, there'll be at least 10 minutes before the next one commences.
But I can't stay out here. People will talk.
About us? Oh, I wish they would. Unfortunately, they all know I've been pursuing you for years, and you won't even look at me. Suppose I keep you out here and compromise you.
You are absurd. What good would that do?
If I only go far enough, you might have to marry me.
You'd have to go a long way.
I'd go to the ends of the earth for you, Margaret. I mean that. I'm always fooling with you, but you know how much I really care, don't you?
Please, John.
Oh, I know. All right, let's go back to the ballroom, and I'll hand you over to your rightful guardian. But do you know what I'd like to do?
No.
Take young Henry out and knock him down for what he did to you a while ago.
What do you mean?
Margaret, don't think I didn't see. He went off with that soulless, unscrupulous American hussy when he should have danced with you.
Oh,
Darling, don't let him hurt you. I feel afraid sometimes when I think of you with him.
What do you mean?
I can't say. What would you think of me? I'm his rival. I can't talk about him to you. Tell you what I know.
There isn't anything. I'll not believe a thing.
No, I didn't think you would. Well, let's go back.
Listen, there's someone coming.
They won't see us if we stay where we are.
Tell me, Dr. Jekyll, do you ever come up to London?
Well, sometimes, but I'm at the university, you know. It doesn't give much time for pleasure.
Well, sometimes, surely. You know, you must come and see me. I have a house in Mayfair.
In Mayfair? Well, I may be going up at the end of next week.
End of next week? Then I'll count on seeing you.
John, do you want the rest of those dancers?
I do, but...
Do you want them?
Yes.
Very well, then. Take me out of here and don't leave me. Come along.
Why, Margaret.
Oh, hello, Henry. I'm so terribly sorry about the last dance. I came in here to talk to John. He's been telling me all about Italy, and I didn't realize it was our dance.
I see. Oh, that's all right. Mrs. Marchbanks, may I introduce Miss Utterson and Mr. John Fairley?
How do you do? You took pity on poor Henry and danced with him, Mrs. Marchbanks. Oh, that was nice of you. And all the time I pictured him as a wallflower. Come along, John, dear. The next dance must be due to start.
Oh, I say, wait a minute. I think it's ours, isn't it, Margaret?
Oh, no, Henry. We have the polka and the quadrille after supper. That's all. Goodbye, Mrs. Marchbanks. Thank you so much for being kind to Henry.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Well, this is a surprise, Margaret, dear. I didn't think we'd be seeing you before midday.
It's such a lovely morning, and I don't feel the least bit tired.
I'm surprised to hear that. You never stopped dancing from the time we got there till we left at 3 o'clock.
No need to ask if you enjoyed yourself, then.
None at all. It was marvelous. Just marvelous.
Had breakfast, my dear?
Yes, thanks. Carrie brought me up some quite a while ago. I think I'll go out and get a little of this morning sunshine, if you don't mind.
Yes, do, dear. You may not feel tired, but you could do with a little more colour in your cheeks.
Aunt Marion, here are your pearls. Thank you so much for letting me wear them. They look beautiful.
But, Margaret, dear, I meant you to keep them. Didn't you understand?
You said if you had a daughter, they would have been hers. I'm not your daughter, and I never will be. Never.
Well, what does it mean, Edward? Why did she say that?
I don't know exactly.
Something happened at the ball last night?
Oh, nothing in particular.
Edward, you're keeping something back from me. I can tell by the way you speak. Now, what is it?
Well, it's just that Henry paid rather a lot of attention to a Mrs. Marchbanks last night, and I suppose Margaret's upset by it.
Mrs. Marchbanks? Not the Mrs. Marchbanks?
I think there is only one.
But what was she doing there? How did she come to be at the Hunt Ball?
I understand that she moves in the very best society, my dear. She's staying with the Marchioness of Ralph at present. Don't forget that she has met with the approval of a very distinguished personage indeed.
Forget it. How could I when it's common gossip in 2 continents? But does that mean that decent people have got to recognize a woman who makes an open fool of...
Hush, my dear. These things are far better left unsaid. She only concerns us because she's been the cause of making trouble between Margaret and Henry.
Did she take much notice of him?
Quite a bit.
Why? Henry's only a boy. What can a woman like that see in him?
Oh, he's handsome and young. These women like to try their wiles on young men sometimes.
I'd like to try my wiles on her. Edward, if anything really comes between Henry and Margaret, it'll break my heart. They're made for each other.
Well, we'd best leave these matters to them. Ah, there goes Henry across the terrace now. He's following her along Rose Walk. I think our little Margaret will be wearing those pearls after all, my dear. Come, pour me out another cup of coffee, and we'll go into the morning room. It's beautifully sunny there.
Margaret! Margaret, wait for me. Why, where are you going in such a hurry?
For a walk?
Mind if I come?
I can't stop you.
Oh, yes, you can. By telling me you don't want me. Are you going to?
I'm going as far as the stables, really. I want to tell one of the grooms to have Clytie ready for me at 11.
Oh, going riding, are you? Who with?
John?
Margaret, look at me.
Why?
I want to tell you how terribly sorry I am. Oh, Margaret, I'm a brute. I deserve to have you hate me.
I don't hate you, Henry.
What then?
I don't know. I was angry last night, terribly angry. And now I just feel numb and dead. Oh, Henry, why did you do it?
Oh, why ask me? I was standing at the foot of the stairs, waiting for you, eager for you to come, and suddenly somebody came along and said that Mrs. Marchbanks had asked who I was and wanted to meet me. Well, I couldn't refuse. And then we started talking together, and it seemed as though she'd forgotten that there was anybody else in the room. I don't think I even asked her to dance, but somehow she seemed to be in my arms, and, well, we were out on the middle of the floor. Well, I can't explain it any better than that, I'm afraid.
And did that mean that you had to dance with her over and over again so that everybody was talking about you?
Well, I would never have done it if you hadn't given all my dances to John.
Well, I'm glad I did. I enjoyed dancing with John. I like him. I think he's nice, ever so much nicer than you.
Oh, I'm perfectly sure you're right, but you don't love him, and you never will.
What makes you so sure? He asked me to marry him, and I didn't say no.
You didn't say yes either, did you?
I said I'd tell him this morning.
When you go out riding?
Yes.
Margaret, you know what you've got to tell him, don't you? Oh, it isn't any use, Margaret. You'll never make yourself feel any better this way. And it isn't fair to John either.
What do you mean?
You're right when you say John's nice. He is. Too nice to be hurt so badly. You've got to tell him the truth and let him go.
And what is the truth?
That you'd hardly have given him a single dance if it hadn't been that I'd behaved so badly to you. You know that. And you know that there's no one else but me.
Oh, you're so certain of me. I hate you for it. Do you think that you can do anything to me and get away with it?
Margaret, do you remember what you said to me last night just before you went upstairs to dress, after we'd come home from the hunt? You said, in spite of the gallows, in spite of everything. There may be nothing in what that crazy old woman in the tumble-down barn told us, but you must go on feeling that way about me, Margaret. You don't know how desperately I need you. You're everything that's best and worthwhile in life to me. Don't take yourself away and leave the Mrs. Marchbanks instead.
Henry, if I only understood you better. But there's something so strange and wild about you. At times you seem so old. As though you'd lived for 1,000 years.
Well, don't try to understand me. Just love me, Margaret. Love me forever. No matter what happens, no matter what I do. Otherwise, I'm lost. I know I am.
I do love you. If you only knew how much.
And you'll marry me? As soon as I'm through my course, you'll marry me?
Yes. Yes, I will.
Oh, I'm going to do such splendid things, dearest. I'm going to heal people and make them well. I'm going to get little children who are deformed and delicate and help to make them strong. I'm going to find new drugs and medicines to take away pain. I'm going to find a way to reach the tortured souls of men and women and give them peace.
Now you've got that look on your face that I love so much. Now I know why I love you. Why, I'd follow you wherever you go.
Oh, if only you knew.
I only know I love you. And always will. Forever and forever.
May I come in, Mr. Rutherford?
Yes, Henry, my boy, come in. When did you reach London?
I came up last night, sir.
Have you seen Margaret?
Not yet. I thought I'd have a word with you first.
Well, sit down and tell me what it is I can do for you.
I want you to give your consent to Margaret and me announcing our engagement at her birthday party next week. You knew, of course, that we had the sort of understanding, didn't you?
Yes, I knew very well. As a matter of fact, Margaret told me about it after she came back from staying at your parents' place some months ago.
I trust you haven't any objections, sir.
You're the son of my oldest and closest friend, Henry, and that makes what I have to say all the more painful.
Why, what do you mean? Surely.
I'll be frank with you. A marriage between my daughter and you, Henry, has been one of my dearest wishes, and I know it's been the same with your mother and father. Then let me finish, please. Margaret is my whole life. Her happiness and her welfare matter more to me than anything else in this world.
Yes, but surely you know that
I feel that I should be perfectly content to trust them both to you. I can't tell you how much I wish it were so.
Why, what do you mean? What have you got against me?
The man I give my daughter to must be able to keep faith with her. He must have a moral standing, at least to match hers. I don't say equal to hers, because no man can be on the same plane as a really good, pure woman.
Oh, I wish you'd explain. What have you got against me? What are you talking about?
A certain Mrs. Marchbanks. Now, don't think I've been spying on you, but by the merest accident, actually through my legal business, I happened to discover your relations with her.
What?
There was a certain settlement about to be made. It was cancelled. And the reason was you. You can't blame me for feeling reluctant about giving Margaret into your keeping, can you?
Oh, I know I'm unworthy. I know I'm unfit to touch her, but the thought of losing, why, you don't know what it means.
Did you think of that when you were paying your surreptitious visits to that woman?
Oh, won't you give me a chance to redeem myself? We're not asking to be married yet. I won't be through my course for another year. I swear that if you'll say nothing to Margaret, you'll never have cause to complain of me again.
I'll say nothing to her. I can't consent to the engagement being made public.
But what am I going to tell her?
I don't know. But I imagine that you're pretty practiced in the art of concealment, aren't you?
I deserve that. But it hurts for all that.
Henry, why did you do it? For the life of me, I can't imagine how you could have stooped to such a thing. And so soon after Margaret promised to marry you. Surely your love for her should have made it easy to resist the temptations that this other woman offered.
Couldn't it have been that it was because I love her so much? Do you think that the feelings I have for Margaret have nothing to do with the flesh? She's remote beyond me. Everything places her beyond my reach. Oh, can't you be reasonable?
Perhaps I can. Yes, perhaps I can. I'm not so far removed from my own youth that I've forgotten.
Then you'll not be hard on me. You'll see that what I felt for this woman had nothing whatever to do with Margaret. It's just as though I was another being, a different man.
Yet still the man who wants to marry my daughter. And the man who might well break her heart and ruin her life.
Oh, give me a chance. Just give me a chance.
Come back to me at the end of 2 years when you've taken your degree and established yourself as a doctor. If there's been no more of it, well,
there'll be no more. I swear there'll be no more.
Who's there? Lanyon, what on earth are you doing is tuck away that laboratory and out of night.
Go away, you idiot. I'm working.
The supper's getting cold. I make cocoa, too.
Well, drink it yourself. I don't want any.
You know what the time is?
Yes, it's 12:15. Go to bed and sleep your brains away. I'm going to stay here till I've got something to go right.
When I'm in hospital, don't get some sleep.
Oh, you'll end up in one if you don't shut up and go away. You've made me forget my calculations. I'll have to do them all over again.
Oh, all right. You budding geniuses give me a pain.
Professor Marriott, my beloved master, I've been a coward. I failed to keep my word. I haven't discovered the secret, but I'm going to. I've got to. I can't have this infernal, evil second self destroying me. And it is destroying me. It's growing stronger, harder to resist. Come now, here are my notes. Here is the tincture. Here are the salts. I'll start again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What about these pictures, Henry? You taking them?
Oh, no. Leave them for our successors.
Well, I never thought I'd be sorry to see the last of this old room, but I must confess to something like a pang.
Well, I've always said you were a sentimental idiot, Lanyon.
Of course, you're altogether too detached from reality to know the meaning of human sorrows. But my feelings are of a sweeter, simpler kind.
Yes, if I throw this book at your head, you'll know if your feelings are of a sweeter, simpler kind.
Well, I never thought I'd be packing up the same time as you. Greatest surprise of my life to find I'd passed the final. Just imagine, Hugh Lanyon, M.B. B.Sc., written on a shining brass plate. But then again, you, with half the honors and diplomas of the year tucked under your arm, can't imagine the humble pleasures of us lesser men.
Oh, Hugh, you garrulous idiot. Shut up and sling me over those straps.
Yeah.
I'll never get the lock of this trunk to hold.
Say, where are you going this summer?
I'm going to stay in London.
London? What on earth for?
Oh, I've got one or two things I've got to clear up. London's the only place where I can do it.
You don't mean that crazy notion of old Professor Marriott's, do you? Oh, sorry. That's a touchy subject with you.
Then shall we not discuss it? Now, come on, look lively. If you're going to catch the 4:00 train, you haven't any time to waste. Hello.
Your cab's waiting, Mr. Jekyll, sir.
Oh, thanks, Bert. I'll be right down.
So this is where we say goodbye, is it?
Goodbye, nothing. After you finish gadding around Europe all summer, I suppose you'll be coming back to London. Look me up as soon as you get there.
And, Henry, I know you hate sentiment and all that sort of rot, but it's been good here, sharing this little room with you. Oh, well, you know what I mean.
I know. I found it good, too. But it doesn't end here. We're only at the beginning. You're an idiot, you know, and a pest into the bargain, but I don't want to lose touch with you.
No, me either.
See you in London, then. Be good.
Not me. Goodbye, you old ratbag. Don't go blowing yourself up by mistake.
Can't promise. Goodbye.
May I come in?
Oh, Margaret, dear, how nice to see you.
Daddy and I are going to Lord's this afternoon to see the cricket. I was wondering if you and Mr. Jekyll would like to come, too.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, dear. I don't think I feel quite up to it, but I'm sure Mr. Jekyll would.
Oh, you should come. Dr. Grace is batting, and I hear he's a wizard.
Why don't you try and persuade Henry to go with you? He's been stuck away in that laboratory all the week. He'll get ill if he doesn't go out into the fresh air sometime.
I know. I thought he wasn't looking a bit well last Sunday. Oh, I do wish he'd find out whatever it is he's looking for. We hardly ever see him, do we?
You're very patient with him, dear.
I'm not a bit patient. I hate his old laboratory. I'm jealous of it. Oh, but what's the use of that? Henry's promised me it won't be much longer. He was terribly excited when I saw him last. He said he was within an ace of success.
Has he ever told you what it is he's trying to discover?
Never. But he told me that he'd be a different person if he succeeded. That he'd lock up the laboratory and be a human being again.
Oh, go and get him out of it now. The weather's glorious. Make him go to the cricket and enjoy himself. He'll have forgotten how to be human.
Do you think I should?
Why not?
Well, he mightn't like me going over there and disturbing him.
I'd risk that, especially if I looked as charming as you do in that new leghorn hat.
Do you like it? I'll admit I wore it on purpose, hoping I'd catch a glimpse of Henry.
Go and let him catch a glimpse of you. That's more to the point.
I believe I will.
Try the outer door, and if it's not locked, go right in. He'll be in the little room at the top of the stairs. Take him by storm, my dear.
I've been dying to see the inside of the Chamber of Mysteries.
Then off with you, and don't be denied.
I won't.
Hello, Margaret. How are you, my dear?
She's come to drag you and Henry off to the cricket.
Henry?
Yes. I'm just gathering up enough courage to go and beard the lion in his den.
You know the way, don't you? Go through the little side door and right across the courtyard at the back of the house.
Yes, I know. We used to play there when we were children. Wish me luck.
Indeed I do, child.
Do you think you'll succeed?
I hope so. I'm getting quite worried over the boy. He's lost weight terribly. I don't think he sleeps more than about 3 or 4 hours a night. He can't go on like this.
Oh, there's nothing we can do about it, my dear. It's the zeal of the scientist, and he's chosen to serve the most jealous of all mistresses. She'll brook no rivals.
A bit hard on Margaret, isn't it? Not many girls would consent with little attention as she gets.
Margaret is a very exceptional girl, and I only hope our son appreciates her.
Oh, he does. You've only got to see them together. He looks at her as though he's filling his eyes with the sight of her to last him during the times he's shut away by himself.
Well, I must say I'll be very much relieved when he completes his investigations and they can be married.
You forget the engagement isn't even announced yet.
Oh, a mere formality, a whim of Henry's, but we know perfectly well the way things stand between them.
Yes, they've belonged to each other ever since they were children. I'd sometimes... Merciful heavens, what's that?
It's Margaret. Something's happened in the laboratory. I can see her running across the courtyard from this window.
Then go and see what it is. Go. Something might have happened to Henry.
Yes, I'll go. Keep calm, my dear. Remember your heart.
I'm coming too. I just can't sit here. Help me, Edward.
I can hear her coming up the stairs.
Margaret.
My dear child, whatever's happened? Now, calm yourself. Sit down here and tell us.
Is it Henry? Has something happened?
No. I don't know.
Get us some sal volatile, Edward. Here, over in the little cabinet by the window. Margaret, try and calm yourself, child. You must tell us what's the matter. What's happened? What did you see?
A man. The most awful little man.
What?
Where did you see him?
Over there. In the room below the laboratory. Oh, he was terrible.
In what way? Here, drink this, dear, and you'll feel better. Edward, bring a footstool to put under her feet. She's shaking from head to foot. Now, dear, try and tell us just what happened.
I went across the courtyard and pushed open the door. I couldn't see very well as it was dark in there, and I'd just come out of the sunlight. Then I heard a sort of sound. I can't describe it. Something like a laugh. It was the most horrible and terrible sound I've ever heard in my life.
Don't worry yourself, child. Go on.
It was just behind me, and I turned. There he was, looking at me, leering at me from the darkness. He was little, sort of deformed and terrible. I can't describe it. I couldn't move. Just stood there, paralyzed. And he began to move towards me, slowly, like a cat. He reached out his hands to touch me. And then I screamed and screamed as though I'd never stop. And a sort of terror came over him. He looked over his shoulder and leapt up the stairs to the laboratory and slammed the door.
That's all?
Yes. And I came running back to the house. Oh.
Marion, you stay with her and try and get her calm. I'll go and see what this is all about.
No, don't go. Keep away from him. He's evil. The most evil thing on earth.
But I must go, dear. If he's there, Henry must know about him. There must be some explanation.
Yes, Henry. Why, I'd forgotten Henry. He might do him some harm. Oh, go quickly.
Oh, Margaret, you must stop this. Stop it at once, do you hear? Nothing has happened to you. You've had a bad fright, but nothing more.
You go, Edward. I'll look after her. Go quickly. I'm afraid for Henry.
Try and get a doctor, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Henry! Henry, what's the matter? Why don't you answer me? Open the door! Smash it in! Henry! Can you hear me? Henry, what's the matter?
Is that you, Father?
Yes, it's me. Open the door. Are you all right?
Yes. I'm all right.
Then let me in.
I will. In a minute. Just wait.
Are you ill? Something happened to you?
No, I'm all right, Father. I'm coming now. I'm going to open the door.
Henry. For heaven's sake, boy, what's the matter? You look deathly.
I'm quite all right, Father. Just let me sit down in this chair for a while. I want to rest. I've had a sort of seizure.
Let me get you something. Some of this brandy.
Yes, just a little. Thank you. No, that's better.
Now, tell me what happened. What's going on in this place today? First of all, Margaret...
Just tell me about her. Margaret. Is she all right?
She had a terrible fright. Who was this man she saw? Do you know him?
Yes. Yes, I know him. I know him very well.
Who is he? What was he doing here?
He was helping me with my work. He's been of the greatest value.
Henry, you've got to stop. It'll kill you. The seizure you've had. Has it ever happened before?
Yes. A few times, but never like this. Never like this.
You've been experimenting on yourself?
Yes, on myself.
I implore you to stop. Even though you succeed, what does that count for if you destroy yourself?
Succeed? I have succeeded. Magnificently. Splendidly. Beyond my wildest hopes. Father, you shall see a new man born. You shall see the human soul attain to heights no one has ever dreamed of. A new era in the history of humanity has begun this day.
And there you have it, my ghastly gathering. The great and noble Dr. Henry Jekyll, a man of science, of reason, and the unwavering goodness, or so he thought. But this is where the story begins to turn. You see, Dr. Jekyll believed that within every man lurked two souls, one good, one evil, forever locked in the battle. But what if science could tip the scales? What if he could separate the monster from the man giving his darker urges a body of their own? Oh, my dear listeners, what could possibly go wrong with that? What follows is one of literature's greatest cautionary tales, where a welling-meaning experiment spirals into an obsession, addiction, and ultimately, doom. the one respected Dr. Jekyll will slowly lose control of his own creation, his other self, a creature unchanged from morality, a figure of unrelenting brutality, a man who walks in the shadows with a devil's grin. Oh, but I won't spoil it all for you. Let's return to our tale and see just how deep this descendant into darkness goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Who's there? It's Hugh. Hugh Lanyon. Oh, come out of there and act like a human being, you blithering idiot.
Anybody else but you infernal.
Yes, I know. That's what I told Poole.
Oh, did he let you in?
I'll sack him for that. Splendid. We've anticipated that. I've already engaged him to come to me.
Well, come in. Well, what do you want now you've got me to open the door?
Ah, nice little Bastille you've got here. No risk of unwelcome visitors breaking in with all these bolts and bars. What's the idea?
Tell me, what have you been up to? When did you get back, and where have you been?
I went for a walking tour through Austria and part of Hungary.
Oh,
a great pity you went with me. Never saw such girls. Got there just in time for the summer festivals. I was in my element, old chap.
I'll bet you were. Sit down over there. Tell me all about it.
Thanks.
Do you know, I'd forgotten that people like you still existed.
No wonder. This is a fine, dreary little morgue you've fixed up yourself. Oh, tell me, what's that table over there? Looks like something out of the dissecting room.
So it is. You see, this whole place used to belong to a famous surgeon before my father bought it. He used to carry out experiments here. Some say vivisection.
No wonder the place brings me out in goose flesh. No windows either on the ground level.
No.
Didn't want anyone peeping in.
And soundproof, too. When I shut that inner door, no sound can get through.
And this is where you've been most of the summer. No wonder you look as pale as a ghost. Come along out of it. We'll take a bus and have a day on the Thames. You know, I'll bet you haven't had an oar in your hand since you left Oxford.
Well, you're quite right there. I haven't.
Then how about it? Listen, we'll hire a punt and get a picnic basket at some nice little country inn and lie out on the grass and eat sandwiches and drink good old English beer.
And you'll tell me all about the buxom peasant wenches you met out in Austria.
Nothing omitted, old boy. Positively nothing.
All right. I'll be with you just as soon as I've changed my clothes. Come over to the house. We'll get the rascally Poole to put us up some food.
There speaks the good old Henry Jekyll.
Hence loathed melancholy. From Cerberus and Blackus, midnight born.
In Stygian cave forlorn, amongst horrid shapes and shrieks and sights unholy.
Stop it. What made you say that? What do you mean?
Say, what's the matter here? Here, I say, don't throttle me.
I'm sorry. I'm awfully sorry, old chap. I don't know what came over me. But those words... Oh, come along, let's get out of this quickly.
Can't be too quick for me, old chap. Oh, dear. Well, how about some more of your father's excellent ale? Where's your glass?
Beside that tuft of grass.
Oh, yes, that's it.
Oh, dear. It's good to lie here with the sun in your face and the smell of warm earth in your nostrils.
You don't know what sunlight is, or how the earth can smell. You've lain out in the sun at midday in those Austrian valleys.
And at midnight under the moon. How I envy you, Hugh. You can take your pleasures so simply. Just as simply as you swallow that glass of ale.
I haven't noticed you showing any signs of constriction of the gullet.
But I haven't got the capacity for roistering round Europe. I'm too much of a hypocrite, I suppose. I'm afraid of losing somebody's good opinion.
You know what's the matter with you?
No.
Margaret Utterson.
What?
You've been trying to live up to her and acquire grace in the eyes of that jealous old Puritan of a father of hers.
What rot.
No, it's not. But it's a sheer waste of time. A fellow like you's bound to break out now and again. It's my opinion he's delighted at having an excuse for preventing Margaret from marrying you.
Yes, but why?
Well, he'd like to keep her for himself. Life will be very empty for him when she goes.
You know, he's doing his best to marry her off to John Fairley. She's been staying down at his place for almost 2 weeks.
But she's back in London now. I've got an invitation to dinner at her place tonight.
Yes, I know.
Well, you're going, aren't you?
I don't know.
What's the matter with you? She won't like it if you're not there.
Well, maybe her father is right. I may not turn out to be a very good sort of a husband.
Well, I'll be... Henry, what's come over you? When I went away, you were crazy over her.
I still am. But in the last few weeks, I've begun to think that perhaps I ought not to marry.
You mean on account of your work?
Well, principally.
Oh, I agree. Women can make the devil's own mess of one's plans. But personally, I think it would be a good thing if you got over Margaret.
Oh, you utter fool. I haven't got over Margaret. Can't you understand that it's because I think so much of her that I'm trying to keep away? If she's hurt because I don't come tonight, and John Fairley's there, mightn't that make her think better of him?
Well, of all the quixotic rubbish I ever heard...
You go ahead and marry a girl, whatever the outcome of it may be, wouldn't you?
Well, I hope it wouldn't be too horrible.
No, that's right. It wouldn't be. Someday you'll marry some pretty little empty-headed creature who'll sit at the foot of your dining table, fill the nursery with children, and think you're the last word in manly virtue and wisdom.
Oh, that's going too far, old chap.
But you'll be happy. Yes, you'll be happy. In your own way. But me, I'm afraid I'll never be.
Oh, now you're getting gloomy again. Time we left. Well, the sun's going behind those clouds anyhow. And if we're going to be in time for Margaret's dinner party...
I've told you I don't think I'll go.
Oh, nonsense. You're not going to give up like that. Come along and give John Fairley a run for his money. Anyhow, I'd love to see you do Utterson in the eye. I never could stand. Hello? What's all that about?
Comes from that building over there. Have you got any idea what it is?
Oh, some sort of reformatory, isn't it?
That's right, so it is. By Jove, one of the prisoners must have escaped.
Yes. Look at the warders rushing out through the gates. I say, is that guns they've got? Hope they don't shoot this way.
Well, come along. Let's move off. They're bound to stop us and ask if we've seen anyone, and we'll be late enough getting back to town as it is.
Yes, I say, listen, Henry.
Well, there's someone coming this way.
In a hurry, too. Now, I wonder if...
Look, there he goes, behind those bushes. Look, just over there. Good Lord, it's a woman.
Well,
I'll be...
Mr. Evans, don't let them get me. I'll be somewhere.
Yeah, what's the matter with you? I say...
Hetty Wilson.
Oh, wait. Oh, Edward. You.
I say, who... Good Lord. It's the girl from the music hall.
I'll be in a minute. And I have to go back into that place. I'll kill myself.
Here, quick. Into the boat. Get down on the floor. We'll cover you up with rugs. Quick. Help me, Hugh.
Oh, but I say,
Don't argue. Help me cover her. And pick up that basket. We've got to be out of the middle of the stream by the time they get here. Now, don't you move, Hetty, whatever happens.
I say, Henry, look, Ed, do you realize what you're doing?
Yes, I know. I'm helping a prisoner to evade the law. If you like, you can go and call those warders and tell them about it.
Oh, here, I say, don't be too hard, old man.
Oh, then pick up that basket. Help me push this boat out from the bank. Ready? 1, 2, 3, push.
Now, Hetty, you lie down against those cushions, pull your hat over your eyes, and pretend to be asleep. I'll do any talking that may be necessary.
A nice, quiet afternoon in the country.
Look out. Look out. They've seen us.
Hello there.
Hello!
Where do you come from?
Lower Huntingdon.
What are you doing here?
Well, what do you think?
Stop that boat while I talk to you.
I'll do my best, but the current's pretty strong.
Then pull into the shore.
What for?
Because we're the police, and we're looking for a prisoner that's escaped from the reformatory. I'd like to search that boat.
Can he swim?
What's that got to do with it?
Well, he'd have to get us out of here.
That's right, brother. We're wasting time. There's just a couple of top tarts there, and let them go. Oh, you'll never know. Why does a low little tough like Eddie Wilson be down with a pair of swells like that? Yeah, maybe you're right. All right, then. Off you go.
Sure you wouldn't like us to come and help?
What the hell? You? We got work to do. Come on, boys. Let's have a little fun down here.
Lie still, Hetty. Don't come out from under those rugs under any circumstances. Are you all right?
I'm very tired of dozing here. Am I allowed to talk in my sleep?
It all depends what you want to say.
I just want to say that I may have had my moments in the Austrian Tyrol, but you go in for a form of excitement that's far, far beyond my humble scope.
Oh, don't jest, Hugh. This is serious.
Serious? Certainly is. Both of us might be struck off the rolls of the BMA for conduct improper to the dignity of our profession. Do you realize that?
I do.
And I'm expected to lie here and pretend to be asleep.
We'll have to do more than that before we get Hetty hidden away.
Being a friend of yours certainly has its drawbacks.
But you are my friend, Hugh, aren't you?
Yes. Confound you. Now keep on with that rowing and let's get out of here as fast as we can. I only ordered a brass plate the day before yesterday, and I'll die of disappointment if I get the sack before I have a chance to hang it up. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Margaret, my dear, dinner has been waiting almost 10 minutes now. Do you intend to wait any longer for those two young men?
No, Father, I don't think I will. Oh, here's Hugh now. I wonder where Henry is.
Perhaps Hugh will be able to tell us.
Margaret, 1,000 apologies. Henry and I went off to spend the day out in the country and didn't get back until late.
Where is Henry? Isn't he coming?
There was a call waiting for him when he got in. Something rather urgent, I think. He said to tell you that he'd be along as soon as he could.
I didn't know Henry was bothering much about a private practice.
Oh, this is one of his patients in the East End. You knew he went down there twice a week to give free advice and medical attention, didn't you?
No, I had no idea.
Neither had I. How long has he been doing this, Hugh?
Oh, for quite a while, I understand. He was telling me this afternoon that he intends equipping a proper clinic with some of his mother's money. and possibly opening a convalescent home somewhere out in the country where poor people can go.
Why, Daddy, isn't that splendid? Oh, now I can understand what's kept him tied up in London all the summer. And me thinking it was something else.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that he's putting the money to such good use. And now, Margaret, my dear, our guests must be famished. I've asked John Fairley to take you in to dinner. Are you ready?
Oh, but I'd much rather go in with you. I want to hear what he's been doing on the continent, and a whole lot more about Henry's clinic.
Oh, I'm afraid that will have to wait, my dear. Here's John now, and you can't disappoint him.
Then don't you go sitting half the evening over your port, Hugh.
Not even Mr. Utterson's excellent wine shall keep me away from you. Oh, hello, Fairley. Oh, hello. When did you get back? 2 days ago. See you later, Margaret. Hugh, will you take Miss Dawson in? Yes, certainly.
So I draw the prize after all.
What do you mean, John?
When I saw our good friend Hugh Lanyon arrive, I thought that you'd be going into dinner on someone else's arm.
Which proves all over again that one should never despair.
What do you mean by that, Margaret?
I mean that Henry isn't here, and see, I take your arm.
Why isn't he here? What can there possibly be to explain his neglect of you all these weeks? His failure to come tonight?
Fortunately, I can now tell you. Henry's gone to attend to one of his patients in the East End of London.
East End? I didn't know he had a practice there.
Neither did I, but he has, and he's there now, because he feels that to help one of those poor people down there is better than to be here eating and drinking with us. And I agree with him. And now, if you'd kindly move my chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Really, I apologize.
Henry, where are you taking me?
Wait till I unlock this door.
Oh, but this is the same place you brought me to before.
Yes, and the place you ran away from, you little goose.
You didn't come back.
But I couldn't. When I went over to the house that night to get you some clothes and food, I found my father there. How could I explain to him about you? I had to pretend to go to bed. When I came over here an hour or so later, there was no sign of you.
Oh, Henry, if I'd only known.
And then you ran out of the place and tried to throw yourself into the river from the Battersea Bridge.
What else was there for me to do? I had no one. No friends. No money. No nothing.
Poor little Hetty. Well, sit down there and I'll get you something to drink. Here. Now take this.
Thanks.
You had me, you know. I tried to find you the next day. I went to the place where you were, but they wouldn't let me see you.
You come to the prison infirmary?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if I'd only known. It would have meant so much to me. Why didn't you leave a message? Just a word.
I did. I told the warden to tell you that I'd been. I left some money and a note.
I never got them, never. And all this time I've been so bitter. It's made me worse than I'd have been otherwise.
How?
I was one of the bad ones in that place I got away from today. The matron told me I had a criminal mind. They shut me up by myself. They wouldn't go and let me out. I was to stay there for another 3 months for bad behaviour.
So you ran away?
Yes. One of the warders, he helped me.
So they're not all inhuman, then?
You don't think he did it out of kindness, do you? I paid him for everything he did, the beast.
Hetty.
I meant what I said this afternoon, that I'd die before I went back there.
You poor little thing.
Have you got any more of that brandy?
Well, what about something to eat? There's food in the cupboard over there.
Food? Real food? I haven't tasted any for nearly a year.
Well, here it is.
Chicken, white bread, and butter. I can't believe it's true.
Well, it is. The whole nightmare of the past is over, too. I'm going to say that things are better for you from now on, Hetty.
I couldn't be much worse, that's one comfort.
Well, tell me what happened to you after you came out of the hospital.
Well, you mean after I tried to throw myself into the river? They sent me to prison for 3 months. It's against the law to attempt to take human life, they told me. Even your own.
And then?
I made some friends in there. They were in for other things, stealing mostly. I went to live with them when I came out. Well, I was a beginner at the game, and I got caught pretty soon.
For stealing?
Uh-huh. Got a year for it. I should have been coming out now, but they decided to keep me there for insubordination and insolence. That's about the lot. I ran away this afternoon, and here I am. If I get caught, I guess I'm there for years. They don't encourage prisoners to run away.
They won't catch you.
What you going to do with me?
I'm going to keep you here for tonight. No one will find you. It's my laboratory. No one ever comes here but myself. But no running away, mind.
Is it likely? Without the cops in London on the watch out for me?
Good. Then I'll leave you now. There's a bed over there and plenty of food. I'll see you first thing in the morning. Will that do?
Yes, that'll do. It'll have to do. I guess I've got to take anything from you now.
You won't have to take anything from me.
Couldn't be any worse than what I've been taken in the past. No matter what it is, prison and the warders, solitary confinement weren't any worse than knowing that you'd tricked me, let me down.
Oh, Hetty, please don't.
But you did, didn't you? You got me off to London knowing darn well that you'd never come and see me like you promised, didn't you? All right. You don't have to say anything. I know.
Will you let me try and make it up to you?
Huh? How? By flipping me a fiver and telling me to run home and forget all about it?
Oh, no. I won't let you down this time. I swear I won't.
But you won't want to be saddled with me now, any more than you did years ago. Oh, don't worry. I understand these things now. I'm not green anymore. Perhaps you like me better that way.
I liked you before.
But no, not as much as you did your good name. It wouldn't have done for Henry Jekyll to be mixed up with a common little nobody like me. And it wouldn't do now. So don't think you fool me, Henry.
But I'm not trying to fool you. I acted like a cad, and I admit it. Now I'm willing to try and help you. If you don't think I'll do it, well, you can walk out that door.
Oh, no. It's nice and comfortable here. And I've had precious little comfort for a long time. I think I'll stay. Yeah, that's right. I'll stay. Maybe you'll get sick of me like you did before. But you won't get rid of me so easily this time. Not be a long shot. If you only knew how much I've learned since that night you kissed me goodbye in the old mill.
I don't blame you for being bitter, Hetty.
Thanks. Well, you can run along if you want to. I suppose you've got some pressing engagement somewhere. Give the lady my kind regards, and I'll be waiting for you tomorrow. So long.
Henry, you've come at last. I was beginning to despair of you.
I'm most awfully sorry, Margaret, but it was impossible to get away before.
You don't have to apologize. I understand perfectly. Hugh gave me your message. I think it's just wonderful of you, Henry.
What is?
That work you're doing in the East End, the clinic. Why didn't you tell me about it before?
But, who told you now?
Why, Hugh, of course. Well, do come into the other room with me and tell me all about it. I do think you're mean, you know. I've been wondering and wondering what you do with yourself. And all the time you've been helping these poor people. Won't you let me help?
Why, I don't know what to say, Margaret.
Well, surely there's something I can do there. I could take temperatures and bandage legs or arms.
Can I see you for a moment, old chap? Yes, of course. Will you excuse me, Margaret?
On condition you come back immediately and tell me everything.
I'll do my best. I won't be a moment. Well, Hugh, what's the matter? Look here, I didn't know what to say to account for you not being here, so I said you had a call to go down to one of your patients in the East End. That's all right, isn't it?
Oh, I suppose it is, but I told you about my work there in strictest confidence, you know.
Oh, yes, I know, but dash it all, something pretty drastic had to be done. Margaret was looking daggers, just about ready to throw herself into John Fairley's arms. The clinic saved the day, old boy.
I wonder.
Well, of course it did. Anyhow, why should you be so secret about it? It's something anyone could be proud of. Not many fellows with your money and opportunity cares a hang for the poor wretches down there. You know, I think it's juiced decent of you.
Thanks, Hugh. Thanks. It's nice to feel that someone thinks well of me.
Oh, I'm not the only one. Just look over there. Look at the way Margaret's watching you. Go on. Follow up your advantage. Her father's been hoping that you've been up to all sorts of crimes while she's been away. And all the time you've been above reproach.
Hugh, shut up. You're an idiot.
Come on, Hugh. You've had him all the afternoon. I've not seen him for ages.
He's all yours, Margaret. And see you make the most of him.
I wish he'd make the most of me. You will let me come down to the clinic with you one day, won't you, Henry?
Yes, of course you can.
When?
Will tomorrow afternoon do? I'll be busy in the morning on something else.
Oh, yes, of course it will. I'll put off everything else for it. Why didn't you tell me about it before?
Well, I wanted to be sure of it. Sure of myself. It's just an experiment so far.
I know it'll succeed. I'm so happy, Henry. Tell me, are you just a little pleased to see me again?
Pleased? My dear, if you only knew.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
May I come in, Hetty?
Yeah, come on.
Well, did you sleep?
Off and on. This is a queer place. Gets on your nerves after a while.
Yes, it is a bit gloomy. Never mind. I've come to take you out of it.
Where to?
A friend of mine who's away from London has left me the keys of his rooms. I know he won't mind you using them.
Supposing he comes back and finds me there.
Oh, he wouldn't do that without letting me know.
Are you sure? What's his name?
His name?
Yes.
His name is Edward Hyde.
That's a funny name.
Well, he's rather a queer person himself. Still, his rooms are very comfortable. You can be sure of not being disturbed. Look, I brought you some clothes. If you dress yourself in these, I'll go and get a cab. You can slip out the back door and into it, and no one need see you.
It's funny to hear you talk like that. Anyone would think you'd been helping criminals to escape all your life.
You're not a criminal, Hetty.
Oh, yes, I am. 7 charges of stealing against me. You can't wink your eye at that, you know.
Well, get yourself dressed and we'll be on our way. I'll open the door into the little lane at the back. You can come out as soon as you're ready. You'll find me waiting in the cab.
Say, there isn't any trick in this, is there?
What makes you ask?
I don't know. You just get used to looking for the catch in things after a while.
Oh.
Why should you bother about me anyhow?
Just to try and make you see that I'm not all bad.
No, I never thought that. I just know you're like all the rest of us. Didn't want to be found out, that's all. Say, this is a nice dress. Where'd you get it?
I went out and bought it first thing this morning.
Well, you've got a good eye for what's nice, I'll give you that. Off you go then, I'll be ready in about 10 minutes.
Well, here we are. Nobody here. Just as I told you.
Cool. This is a bit of style, isn't it? Your Mr. Hyde must be a proper swell to have things like this. What's he doing with it in a mean little back street like this?
Well, I told you he was rather a queer sort of chap. He prefers this part of London.
Do you mean to say he won't mind me being here?
I'm sure he won't. Now, just make yourself at home and do what you like.
But look at the carpet and the furniture. Well, I've never seen things like that before out of a shop. Bit neglected, though. Oh, look at all the dust.
Well, you see, he's been away some time, and you can amuse yourself cleaning it up.
And what'll I do after that? I can't stay cooped up here all the time.
Well, wait till tonight. After it gets dark, I'll come back and, well, then we can decide what you'll do. Can you put up with it for a day?
Put up with it? Didn't I tell you I've been doing solitary confinement in that hellhole of a prison reformatory?
I'll order some food to be sent round to you from the shops. The tradespeople know this place. There's a little box just outside the kitchen door. They leave everything there, so you needn't see anyone at all.
Gee, look at the sun shining outside. You can see it even in this dirty little street. It'd be nice to go for a walk, wouldn't it?
Oh, I don't think you'd better do that.
Oh, don't worry, I'm taking that chance, sis. If you only knew what it's like to be shut up for months on end. The very thought of walking about among people again. Oh, well, no good thinking of that. You'll come tonight for sure, won't you?
For sure. You can expect me around about 10 o'clock.
10? That's late.
Well, it doesn't get dark till nearly 9.
Yeah, that's right. And you're just as anxious to keep out of sight as I am. Wouldn't do to be seen with me, would it?
Please, Hetty.
Oh, I don't blame you. Off you go, then. I can see you're on pins and needles. I'll be all right here.
Well, I'll see you at 10 o'clock, then.
Yes, at 10 o'clock.
Now, it's all right, little fellow. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you very much. Margaret, hand me over that basin of water and some fresh lint, will you?
What's the matter, Henry? Is he badly hurt?
I can't tell yet. Well, old chap, what happened? Did you get knocked down?
Yes, sir. I was riding along the street on a message from my mother.
And you got mixed up with a horse and dray. I know. The driver told me about it when he brought you here. Well, now, let's have a look at this leg of yours. Oh, steady now, steady. Oh, steady. I may have to hurt a bit.
Look, you hold my hand. Hold it hard, see? I don't mind if you dig your nails into me. There. Does that help a little?
Yes, miss.
Then you hang on for all you're worth. Tell me, what's your name?
Johnny, miss.
Johnny, is it? I knew someone named John. He lives in the country. Have you ever been out into the country, Johnny?
Once, on a bank holiday. My mother and my father took me out to Hampstead Heath.
Did you like it?
Oh, yes, it was busking, miss. Merry-go-rounds and coconut shies, and then we seen a real good go in between two fellas down near the Bum Bush Hotel.
That's what you call a day in the country, is it? That isn't what I mean. I mean where you can see horses and cows and walk for miles and miles over the green fields and find birds' nests and go fishing.
Is that what the chap you know does?
You mean John? Oh, yes, he does all those things.
Oh, crikey, I'd like to see a bird's nest.
John's got a collection of eggs he found when he was a little boy.
Oh, he's grown up now, is he?
Yes, he's a man now.
Oh.
Oh, but he still likes to walk along the hedgerows and look for nests. We found a thrush's nest one day when I was staying down at his place. He showed me the little mother bird sitting on her eggs.
He must be a pretty nice sort of cove.
He is. Oh, poor little chap. Have you nearly finished, Henry?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. My hand must have slipped. I think I've got this wound fairly clean now. There aren't any bones broken, so I'll just have to bandage it, and then he can go home.
Oh, but he won't be able to walk.
Well, as soon as his mother comes, we'll get a cab and send him off in that.
Seriously, where is my Johnny?
Oh, well, that sounds like her now.
Dr. Jekyll, the little boy's mother's here now. Will I let her come in?
Yes, I think it'll be all right, thank you, nurse. Will you be a good boy now, Johnny, and tell your mother you're not hurt much?
Yes, sir.
All right, tell her to come in, nurse. I don't think Nurse Peters quite approves of my bringing you down here, Margaret.
Oh, I hope she won't think I'm trying to usurp her place.
She's a grand person, but just a little bit touchy.
Perhaps I'd better go then.
Oh, no. Let her get used to the idea of you. I hope this won't be your last visit down here, Margaret.
Would you really like me to come?
Well, if you can bear the sights and sounds, Some of them aren't very pretty, you know.
If I could be of any help, I'd come every day of my life.
Margaret, I don't deserve what you give me, you know.
When I see you working here amongst these poor, friendless people, giving so much to them, I feel ashamed that I ever doubted you.
You have doubted then?
Yes, Henry. I have. Oh, forgive me, will you? I'm such a fool to have ever listened. But I won't again. I swear it.
The things you heard are probably true. There's more than one side to my nature, you know.
Johnny. Oh, Johnny.
He's all right. Look, he's sitting up as though nothing had ever happened.
Oh, how can I ever thank you, sir? They told me you were taking care of him. He's down at Dr. Jekyll's, they says. And I just thank heavens for that. For if anything can be done for my boy, it's Dr. Jekyll who'll do it.
Oh, that's all right, then. He's just been cut and knocked about a bit, and you'll have to keep him quiet for a few days till the wound heals on his knee. After that, he'll be running about as well as ever.
And don't you go letting me catch you hanging onto the backs of drivers and lorries anymore, young man, or I'll give you what's what, I will.
Oh, poor little chap.
Me, Mum, can't you give a fellow a chance?
Johnny's probably learnt his lesson. Now, I'll get a cab for you, and you can take him home. I'll call in and have a look at him this evening and see that no other symptoms have developed. Leave your address with Nurse Peters before you go, will you?
Oh, how can I ever thank you, sir? You're a heaven-sent blessing to us people here. If only there was more of your kind, the world would be a different place.
Oh, you don't have to thank me. Just keep young Johnny away from horses' hooves in future, and that'll be enough.
You can trust me for that. If ever I catches him at it again.
Dr. Jekyll, there are a lot of people in the waiting room.
Oh, thank you, Nurse. Do you think you could get someone to find a cab to take Johnny and his mother home?
I'll try, Doctor.
Good. Now, off with you, young man. I'll see you later on. Send in Mrs. Higgins next, will you please, Nurse?
Yes. Goodbye, mister. Goodbye, lady. And if that cove you know has any of them eggs to spare...
I'll ask him the next time I see him.
Oh, Johnny, haven't I told you not to keep asking for things?
Quite all right.
Well, Mum, that's the only way I can get things.
I think you'd better leave this next patient to Nurse Peters, Margaret. It's a leg ulcer and not a very pretty sight.
Oh, if I sat away in the corner and just watched, would I be in the way?
Oh, you'd never be in the way, sweetheart.
I do so want to learn, and this is the only way I can do it.
All right, but don't be ashamed to say if things get too much for you. Many a first-year medical student has to rush out of the casualty room, you know.
Did you, Henry?
I did, and more than once. All the human frailties are mine, I'm afraid.
Mrs. Higgins, Doctor. Who's that? Is that you, Henry? Henry, is that you? Why don't you answer? It's dark down there. I can't see.
Like Miss Hattie Wilson speaking.
Yes. Who's that?
Don't be afraid, my dear. I'm a friend of Henry Jekyll's.
A friend of Henry Jekyll's? Did he send you here?
Yes. He wasn't able to come here himself, and he thought you might be disappointed.
Who are you?
In another minute, I'll be at the top of the stairs, and you'll be able to see me, my dear. Hold that lamp a little higher. It's very dark here. There now. That's better. Can you see me? My name is Edward Hyde.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Daddy, you shouldn't have done it without consulting Henry or me.
My dear, there was so little time. The wedding invitations were in the hands of the printer. I only just cancelled them in time.
But how did you know that we wouldn't want to go on with the wedding?
But surely...
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Respect to Mr. Jekyll. What will people say, and all the rest of it? We could have been married very quietly without any fuss, and no one would have thought any the worse of us.
Well, my dear, you can still do that if you want to.
But you're hoping we won't. Oh, Daddy, I wish you didn't feel the way you do about my marrying Henry. It makes me frightened somehow.
In what way, dear?
I know you're the best and dearest person in the world, and you'd do anything for my happiness. The fact that you're so opposed to Henry makes me wonder sometimes.
Wonder what?
If there may not be something against him after all.
Margaret, dear, I feel that I'm playing false with the son of my dear old friend, Edward Jekyll, when I say these things against him. But a good father doesn't necessarily mean a good son. And there's something about Henry that has always filled me with uneasiness.
Yes, but what? You never have anything definite. It's only a kind of instinct.
I think it dates from a time when you were both children. Do you remember the time? One Christmas day, when you and he had a quarrel. It was over a doll, I think. You wanted to play with it, and he wanted you to go riding on his new sledge with him.
Yes, I remember. I slipped or something and fell down some steps.
That's a charitable way of putting it. In reality, he pushed you down. His father and I happened to be watching through a window, and we saw the whole thing. I also saw his face when he did it.
What do you mean?
The blow on your head has made you forget it, but I haven't. I remember all too well.
But what? What do you remember?
The look on his face. It wasn't the expression of a child. It was that of a fiend.
Of what? Daddy, you can't be serious.
Indeed, I am. And that night his father and I had a long talk about it. He told me then of certain misgivings he had about the boy. From that time on, I've dreaded to see the growing attachment that has developed between you.
Because you saw him lose his temper.
You know me better than to think I'd pay any attention to so small a thing as that.
Well, what else then?
There was a story about something that happened while he was still at college. One of his friends, a boy named David Markham, got into some sort of disgrace. No one knows really what happened, but while Henry was in the room with him, it was a room high up in a tower, young Markham either threw himself or fell out of the window and was killed.
Daddy, you're not suggesting that Henry had anything to do with that?
There was another boy there, son of a client of mine, who said that Henry had been particularly intimate with Markham and had actually been involved in the same escapade that got him expelled. There was no proof of it, and Henry, of course, went scot-free.
What was the escapade?
According to my client, something to do with two village girls.
No, I'll not believe it. It isn't possible.
My dear, I'd do anything to spare you this, but you've asked me why I oppose your marriage to Henry. These are my reasons.
Well, suppose it is true. That was years ago. Henry might have been tempted. Who are we to judge him? But what about the rest of his life? Doesn't that make up for it? All the wonderful things he's done for sick people, his clinic, his work at the laboratory. You saw that article about him in the science magazine. He's not yet 30, and he's made some discoveries that'll transform modern medicine.
For all I know, Margaret, dear, Henry may be a genius. But even a genius would not find forgiveness in my eyes if he caused you any harm.
Harm? But how could he? Don't you understand that he loves me?
But not enough to give up his association with a man whom I've reason to believe is evil enough to overcome all that is best in Henry Jekyll and reduce him to a level similar to his own. And that is lower than the beast.
Who are you talking about?
A man named Edward Hyde. Has he ever spoken to you about him?
No, never. Who is he?
I don't know. But before you marry Henry, I'm going to make it my business to find out.
Henry. Oh, my poor darling.
You don't know how good it is to see you, Margaret. Somehow I was afraid you wouldn't be here.
But why? Surely of all times now...
When one has had the terrible, unexpected blow, one distrusts everything.
But not me, surely.
Not you, dear. But there might have been something else to keep you away from me.
Nothing. There's nothing on this earth that could ever do that. As long as I feel you want me.
I'll want you always, no matter what happens or where I am. Will you remember that, sweet?
Keep on telling me. You don't know how I love to hear it.
Is it true what Hugh Lanyon told me about your father putting off our wedding?
He thought he was doing what you would wish, Henry.
Not he. He was doing what he wished. Father's death gave him an utterly unhoped-for excuse.
Henry, dear, you mustn't feel that way about him. He's given his consent. He told me that there's nothing to prevent us getting married quietly, even now, if we want to.
And do you want to?
Yes, if you want it that way.
Never mind about me. How do you feel? Will you marry me now, right away? Or would you rather wait and have your wedding in a church, with bridesmaids and choral service and all the rest of the pomp and ceremony?
Henry, darling, you know I don't care a bit for all that.
No, but you hesitated. You said if I wanted it that way. Don't you want to get married now?
Can't we talk about it a little later on? You've just come from that long train journey and...
No, I want to know just exactly how you feel. I wasn't wrong in feeling uneasy about you. There is something that's keeping you away from me.
Darling, that's nonsense.
Oh, no, it's not. I've got a peculiar instinct for these things. There's something at the back of your mind. I can sense it. And I'm never wrong. Now, tell me what it is, Margaret.
I'm not going to let you worry yourself over nothing. You look dreadfully tired and not a bit well. Did you sleep on the train?
I've hardly slept for nights.
Then you must get some rest now. After that, we'll talk.
Do you think I'll be able to rest until I know? What's troubling you, Margaret? You've got to tell me.
Please, dear, you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Ah, then there is a molehill. You said there was nothing.
There is nothing. A pack of stories which I don't believe.
What kind of stories?
Oh, ridiculous nonsense about someone who fell out of a window when you were at school.
What? Who told you that?
Oh, never mind. It's not important.
Not important? Margaret, I've got to know.
But why? I told you I didn't believe it.
Whoever told you is trying to turn you against me. What else did you hear?
Nothing.
Yes, there is something.
Henry, why do you look like that? There's no need to get so angry.
Isn't there? You think I should feel nothing about the person who's trying to take you away from me?
But they haven't.
Yet there's just that shade of doubt that makes you hesitate about marrying me. The poison's beginning to work.
How can you say such a thing? I don't care what anybody says about you.
What have they been saying? It was your father, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I guessed it. And yet you say he's not trying to prevent our marriage.
If he doesn't think you'll make me happy, can you blame him?
No. No, I can't blame him. But I can hate him.
Oh, don't talk that way. You're the two people I love best in all the world. Don't you know how unhappy it makes me feel when I know that you're hostile to each other?
Poor little sweet. Unhappiness already. And not even married to me.
He doesn't ask very much of you, Henry.
What does he ask?
Just that you should give up your friendship with this man, Hyde.
Hyde? He told you of Hyde?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
He said he was lower than the beasts, and evil enough to overcome all that is best in you and make you like himself.
Did he tell you anything else about him?
No, nothing. Who is he, Henry?
He's a man I've used to help me in some of my scientific experiments.
There. I knew there was some perfectly good explanation. Will you be needing him much longer?
That depends.
On what?
On you, Margaret.
I don't understand.
The day you marry me, my need of Hyde will cease.
Oh, what a strange thing to say. What have I got to do with Hyde?
Nothing. You're as far apart as the moon from the earth.
And yet his fate lies in your hands. You have the power to exorcise him, to set his evil soul at rest forever. Or send it out into the world to ravage and despoil like a creature out of hell itself.
Henry, you frighten me. You look so strange.
And you're thinking once again that perhaps your father was right.
How do I know unless I've seen this man?
You have seen him.
When?
The night my mother died. Don't you remember?
You mean that awful little man I saw out near your laboratory?
Yes, that's the one.
But Henry, he's horrible, dreadful. How could you bear to have him near you? Oh, you'll have to send him away. He is evil. Think what happened just by having him there that night.
Yes, because of him my mother died.
Oh, don't say that.
But it's the truth. Don't think the knowledge hasn't haunted me ever since. And now my father. Perhaps if it wasn't for Hyde, they'd both be alive today.
Then send him away. Get rid of him before he does us any more harm. Oh, promise me you will.
Then you'll marry me.
The day you come and tell me that you've sent Hyde away forever, I'll marry you.
Then we'll go back to London tomorrow. Have you had enough of Paris?
More than enough.
I, too. I want to get back to work, to the clinic, to the hospitals. It's only in work, good, hard, ceaseless work, that we can lose ourselves.
And lose the Edward Hydes.
And lose the Edward Hydes. You don't know how right you are, Margaret. The Edward Hydes in ourselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Hello, Henry, old boy. Been having a few improvements made around the place?
Yes, I thought Margaret might find the rooms a little dark and overpowering as they were. They hadn't been redecorated for about 10 years.
You know, I like the idea of that big fireplace you had put in the entrance hall.
Yes, it's rather nice, isn't it? Imagine how it will look on winter days. As soon as the door opens, you'll look into a great leaping fire.
A warm welcome, eh? Well, I imagine it'll be one of the pleasantest places in London.
And with my pretty Margaret to add her smiles.
All the arrangements for the wedding going well?
Oh, yes, I think so. From my end, anyhow. Margaret's fussing around with bridesmaids' dresses and red carpets and all the rest of it, but I guess she'll manage it all in plenty of time.
Are you busy?
Not for half an hour or so. I'm due at St. Giles at 4 o'clock, but it doesn't take me long to get there. Something you wanted to see me about?
Yes. I happened to meet Hetty yesterday.
Hetty? Where? What was she doing?
She was coming across Green Park. I gathered she was on her way to see you.
What about?
I suppose you know how things were between her and Edward Hyde.
Yes. Yes, I knew.
Well, it appears that he's gone away somewhere. She hasn't seen him for months.
I know.
Any idea where he is?
Not the slightest. I haven't seen him. Nor am I likely to.
Speaking personally, I'm infernally glad to hear you say that. I have never met the gentleman, but anyone who has seems to loathe the very sight of him, including Hetty.
Yes, I rather imagine Hetty has particular reasons for hating him.
What are we going to do about her, Henry?
About her? We? Well, I guess she's my responsibility.
Not altogether. I'm involved in the matter, too, don't forget. Anyhow, for all sorts of reasons, I think you'd better let me do what's necessary.
You mean on account of my getting married?
Yes, it wouldn't be too good if you got tangled up in anything just at present.
You're a good chap, Hugh. No one ever had a better friend than you.
Oh, forget it. We went into all this years ago, the day we left the university.
I don't forget it.
Ever. Well, don't let's talk about it then. Dash it, old man, you're making me feel all hot and uncomfortable. I'll be coming out in a rash if you don't dry up.
All right.
And you'll let me deal with the matter of our little Hetty and make the best arrangements I can?
No, I can't let you do that.
Oh, but hang it all. You don't know the risk you're running. If all that...
Oh, yes. I know all that. But our good friend Utterson will never know anything about this. I'll go down to Hyde's house and see her tomorrow afternoon sometime.
I think you're taking an unnecessary risk.
Why? Utterson doesn't know of the existence of Hyde's house? You didn't tell him anything about it, did you?
Not a word. You gave me the address in strictest confidence. You know that.
Yes, I do. And that's why I haven't any fear of the old man knowing that I've been there.
Well, don't take any risks.
Oh, I won't. Besides, I know a way to make perfectly certain that no one will ever suspect who I am, even if they meet me face to face.
What? You told me to say you're going to wear a false nose or something.
Oh, no. I don't mean that.
Oh, there you go, getting all mysterious again.
The mysteries will soon be cleared up, Huey, my friend. This visit to Hetty will be one of the last of them. And after that, a new life, a new happiness.
Well, take my advice and watch your step. That old blighter still has hopes of getting rid of you. You mark my word.
Hello, Utterson. Well, this is very fortunate. I was on my way to your chambers to see if you were in.
I was just going to this little tea shop for my morning tea. What about coming too?
Oh, that's a good idea. The weather makes one think of warm cup of tea, first nip of autumn in the air, isn't it?
Yes, the trees were starting to change color when I was coming up from Kent last Monday.
Oh, you still have your country house there?
Oh, yes. I'd never part with that. It means a great deal to be able to get away from the city every weekend. Oh, well, here we are. Will you sit here?
No, thank you.
What will you have? Just tea?
Tea and a muffin, I think.
Yes, I'll have the same. Will you see that mine is toasted very well, please, waitress?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is it you wanted to see me about?
Well, a curious coincidence happened to me a while ago. Do you remember the time we were walking home together and saw that man Hyde attack the little girl?
Hyde?
It's not necessary to ask. Neither of us is likely to forget that night.
But why do you ask?
As an architect, I sometimes have to go into curious parts of London. A short while ago, a client of mine decided to acquire a row of houses and rebuild them as modern residences. Everything was going all right when we suddenly struck a snag. One man refused to sell. And who should this obstinate fellow be but Edward Hyde?
What? He owns a house?
Yes, not a bad house. Fairly good repair, but in about as bad a locality as one of his kind could wish for.
Where is it? You can give me the address?
Oh, of course I can. That's what I've come to see you about. I want you to try and see if you can persuade the fellow to sell.
I don't know that I can do that, but I'm very glad to know where he lives. Very glad indeed.
Oh, well, come then. Let's eat our muffins while they're hot, and I'll tell you all I know about the business.
Who's there?
Is Mr. Edward Hyde at home?
Who are you?
My name is Utterson.
Margaret Utterson's father?
Yes. Why do you ask?
Come in. I want to shut the door. There's room in here. Come in and I'll talk to you.
Thank you. But may I ask who you are and what you know about my daughter?
Going to marry Henry Jekyll next month, isn't she?
Yes, but what has that to do with you?
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. I used to know him once. That's all past history now, I guess.
When did you know him?
Oh, forget it. Henry has, so why should I bother? What did you come here for?
I wanted to see Mr. Hyde.
Can't understand that. I should think anyone would run a mile rather than see him.
I've come on business.
Well, I can't help you. He hasn't been here for almost 2 weeks. I never know when he's coming. He might be here any minute or Or he mightn't be here for a month.
And you don't know where I can find him?
No idea. He don't encourage questions, does Edward Hyde.
Have you known him very long?
Too long for my liking.
Well, perhaps if I left a card, you'd give it to him and ask him to get in touch with me.
Oh, I'll do that all right. He'll be back sooner or later. Just when I'm thinking he's gone for good, he always turns up. Worse luck.
You don't sound as though you like this company very much.
What, me? Well, hardly.
Is he a relative of yours?
He's not. He pays me to look after this place.
I see.
No, you don't. You don't see anything. You're a gentleman. You can't imagine anyone like Edward Hyde. I thought I knew what men were like. But I had a lot to learn from him.
Then why do you stay?
I guess that's my business, isn't it? And I guess you'd better get out of here and mind your business, too. He don't like people coming here. And no more do I.
Very well. I'll go. But don't forget, it was yourself who asked me to come in.
I know. I just wanted to talk to you about Henry and your daughter. Is she very pretty?
Very.
Don't mind my asking, will you? But, you see, I used to be very fond of Henry once, and I'm sort of interested, see? Where's the wedding to be? I'd like to see it.
St. Martin's in the Fields, on the 25th of next month. But tell me, when did you know him?
Oh, years and years ago. Oh, he'd hardly remember me. I was just a bit of a kid.
But you said you were fond of him.
So I was. Not that he ever knew it, though. Imagine it fell into the great Henry Jekyll if he'd realised that the little waitress in the tea shop at Walgrave Corner was shook on him.
Walgrave Corner?
Yes.
That's the village near the college he went to, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
This is of particular interest to me. I'd be glad if you'd tell me anything you can about the boys you knew in Walgrave Corner.
Particularly Henry Jekyll, eh?
Well, naturally, I'm interested in him.
Because he's going to marry your daughter, eh? Well, there's nothing that I know about him that ought to make any difference to that. He never even knew I was alive. That's how much notice he took of me.
I see. Tell me, did you ever know a boy named David Markham?
David Markham? Look at you. What's the strength of all this? What are you after, anyway?
Why are you getting angry?
Because I don't like the way you're quizzing me. And anyhow, I think you better go. If Hyde comes back and caught me talking to you, there'll be the devil to pay, and I'm the one that cop it. So get, do you hear? Go on, get. I think you better go.
Well, not yet, Hyde.
Oh, Hyde, where did you come from?
You were so engrossed in your conversation that neither of you heard me. A most interesting subject. Very interesting. I'm glad I was able to listen to some of the things you said.
You've been listening?
I have. And now, my dear Mr. Utterson, if you will kindly sit down again, I'll tell you the things you so badly want to know about your prospective son-in-law. There's nothing that I don't know about Henry Jekyll, nor he about me, because we're twin souls, you see. Twin souls.
and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Sit down, Mr. Utterson. Pray be seated. It isn't often we have visitors, is it, Hetty, my dear?
Well, you won't be wanting me to help you entertain him. I think I'll go.
Yes, it might be just as well. Some of the things that Mr. Utterson and I will have to talk about will be rather of a confidential nature.
All right. You can find me upstairs if you want me.
And now, Mr. Utterson, perhaps you'll be good enough to tell me what it is that brought you down to my rather secluded residence?
I came on behalf of my client, Mr. Randolph Winter.
Ah, yes. The gentleman with the model housing scheme. I think I have given my reply in unmistakable terms to his proposals.
I'll admit I was glad of an excuse to come down to your place. I wanted to see you.
Good. Now we're getting somewhere. And the reason you wanted to see me was to try and ferret out what connection I had with Henry Jekyll. Wasn't that it?
It was.
You were wasting your time with Hetty. She knows no more about that than you do. Though the things she could have told you about Henry.
What do you mean?
You want the full, unvarnished story of Henry Jekyll?
Of course I do.
Because you don't want him to marry your daughter, isn't that it?
Never mind my reasons.
Isn't that it? Answer me.
Yes, that's it, if you want to know.
I want the truth. You want the truth from me? I demand it from you.
Very well, then. I have never wanted my daughter to marry him, and if you put me in possession of sufficient evidence to make it impossible, I shall consider myself as being in your debt.
My debt? Oh, that's good, that is.
Well, please, go on. This interview is painful, and I want to have done with it.
First, we will finish with Hetty. As I was saying, he accidentally found her again. He was horrified to see what she'd become, and he took her away with him out of the place she worked in. He took her to the building at the back of his father's house. He calls it his laboratory.
What? He had a girl there?
Oh, but only for a very brief time. Henry was entirely blameless on this occasion. Believing that the main house was deserted, he went into it to get food and clothes for his protege. It was about 2:00 in the morning, remember? And while he was groping his way in the dark, who should surprise him but his father? The old man had unexpectedly come up to London from his country house.
Yes, go on.
Picture Henry's dilemma. There he was, with Hetty waiting for him in the laboratory. And his father, asking what he was doing, wandering round the house like a thief at such an hour of the night. Henry made some sort of an excuse and went off to bed.
Leaving the girl to shift for herself?
Precisely. Hetty thought that he'd played another trick on her, so she ran away. An hour or so later, she was fished up out of the Thames by the water police, from where she'd attempted to commit suicide.
Oh, you can't be serious. The girl that I've been talking to?
The same. There's a lot more, but I won't go into details. Hetty was charged with vagrancy, sentenced to a term in prison, came out, became a professional thief, got a further prison sentence, and eventually arrived at her present situation, which is companion to my lighter moments.
And this trail of misery is the work of Henry Jekyll?
You'd never believe it to hear the way she lied for him, would you? Strange, submissive creatures women are.
Well, I can only repeat that I'm indebted to you for what you've told me. I often felt that there was something about Henry that none of us knew of. But I never suspected this.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, that's not all.
Surely there's no more.
Oh, yes, much more. You were asking Hetty about David Markham, the unfortunate young boy who fell from the window. That was Henry's doing, too.
What?
Yes. He didn't push him from the top of the tower, but it was he who led him to do the things that got him expelled. They had a quarrel up there, and Markham lost his balance. That's the explanation of the accident. I wonder no one ever suspected it.
But he was little more than a schoolboy then.
How curious. But curiously old for his age. Didn't you once make that very remark to his father?
How do you know these things?
I told you Henry and I are twin souls.
When you first said that, I thought you were joking.
Now you begin to think there may be some truth in it. And I'm not a very pleasant specimen for a man to claim affinity with, am I?
At least you look what you are.
And Henry, with his pale, fine face and sensitive manner, looks something of a saint. Two halves of a single whole, Mr. Utterson.
You're talking riddles, but that's unimportant.
Unimportant? You never made a greater mistake in all your life. It's the most important, the most vital statement you've ever heard, if you only knew it.
I'm afraid I can't stay to discuss metaphysics with you now, Mr. Hyde. What you told me has been such a shock that I'll ask you to excuse me.
So that you can go and break the news to Margaret and postpone the wedding once again? Oh, it won't be mere postponement this time, will it?
After what you have told me, she will marry that man only over my dead body.
Ah, that's precisely what she's going to do. She's going to marry him over your dead body.
Well, what's the matter with you? Have you suddenly gone mad? Why have you shut the door?
So that I can lock it. There! Now it's done. We're shut in here alone. Just you and I.
Let me out. What sort of madness is this?
I told you too much knowledge of a certain kind is dangerous, didn't I? Oh, no. You needn't go casting wild looks at the windows. The shutters are barred on the outside.
I demand that you open that door and let me go.
I've been waiting for this moment far too long. I've thought of it for years. I began to hate you, I think, when I was still a child. I hated the way you looked at me. Curiously, as though I was some sort of specimen impaled on a pin. You were wondering then what manner of creature I was.
What are you talking about? When did I ever see you before the night you struck the child down in the street?
And then when I heard you give your reasons why Margaret shouldn't marry me...
Marry you? In heaven's name, what are you raving about?
Haven't you realized? Don't you see who I am?
I know that you're a maniac.
But you don't know that I am Henry Jekyll.
You're what?
Henry Jekyll! Don't look at me like that. I know you're telling yourself that insane people are subject to delusions, but I am not insane.
And then if you're not, stop this hideous fooling and let me out. I can see now I was a fool to believe anything you said. The whole thing is a pack of lies from beginning to end.
And you're willing to regard it as such and do nothing to stop your daughter's wedding?
I'll make inquiries, and if I find there's no truth in what you say...
You'll make no inquiries, my friend, because you're never going out of this room alive.
I'm never going out of this room?
No. Since I've found the way to protect myself into the form of Edward Hyde, I've done many nameless things, but I've never yet committed murder. I wanted to. I wondered how it felt, and now I'm going to find out.
Stop this infernal nonsense. Open the door.
I decided it should be you some time ago. I never thought you'd play so neatly into my hands as you've done by coming here.
Let me out.
I wondered when the opportunity would present itself.
Stop following me about the room. Stop it, I say.
You've knocked over one of the chairs. Are you frightened? Why should a man who's lived the blameless life that you have be afraid to meet his maker?
Hyde, stop this.
I've done nothing to you.
Haven't you? If you hadn't kept Margaret away from me, Edward Hyde would have ceased to exist long ago. She would have made all the difference. Look on your work, O righteous man, and see what you've called forth out of the darkness of a human soul.
You foul obscenity. Take my daughter's name off your lips.
Your daughter is mine. Mine, I tell you. She's belonged to me ever since we were children, and it's you who have kept us apart. You won't do so anymore. I'll wipe out the existence as I'd smash any other barrier that stood between us.
I'm not a young man, but I can still fight. If you won't let me out of this room of your own accord, by heaven, I'll lay you out and get the key that way.
Ah, that's better. That's better. Now we've got some hate on both sides.
Hate? I should say there was. From the first moment I saw you, I had an overwhelming desire to strangle you. You were the foulest, vilest, most repulsive creature I'd ever set my eyes on. The world will be a better place to be rid of you, and God willing, I shall do it.
You will!
With my bare hands. Let me get them on your heavy throat.
Kill me, would you? Take that. And that.
What are you doing? What's happening there?
Go away. Get back upstairs.
Oh, what are you doing? Have we come in?
All right, my dear. Come in. Come in. It might serve as a good object lesson to you.
Oh, look at him.
Yes, take a look. That's the work of Edward Hyde. Not a man to fall foul of.
Oh, look at his head. Oh, you beast. You beast.
Shut up, you little fool. I'll shoot you, too. That's right. Fate. Well, perhaps it's just as well. Now, let me get out of this. First the stick. I must destroy the stick I killed him with. Into the fire with it. Into the fire with it. That's right.
Ah, what transformation indeed. Dr. Jekyll thought he could keep his dark side under control, but well, we all have our breaking points, don't we? Now tell me, my lovely lurkers, among who hasn't felt the pull of your own inner Hyde, that little voice whispering, tempting, urging you to do things a little more wicked than usual. Oh, don't look so horrified, my dears. It's perfectly natural. Just be careful which side of yourself you unleash, especially if you're on Amazon ready to buy any toys. And let's not forget Mira's Morgue challenge for toy photography. This time we're going to keep the sci-fi theme a little bit longer, and I will be doing my own toy photography to make it more public and to make it more appealing for everyone to enjoy and participate. This is for the toy community. We want to participate, and we would love for you to participate as well. Again, use Mira's Morgue as the hashtag, and this month's theme is sci-fi. Any type of sci-fi, very open-minded, and anything that connects to the old-time radio shows that we've been listening to. I'll be prowling through the digital darkness, searching for the most sci-fi elements, and then announcing them on Bandito's radio of Mira's Morgue. Well, my darling deviant playthings, The morgue closes its doors once again, but the stories, oh, they live on through your lens. Toy photography isn't just about plastic and paint. It's about breathing life into the inanimate, capturing a single frame that whispers 1,000 eerie possibilities. So keep experimenting, keep creating, and remember, in our little corner of the internet, the shadows tell the best stories. Until next time, keep your cameras lurking and your airwaves haunted, because who knows what frequencies might you find next.